Hello, how's it going? Thanks for joining me. Here are 17 rules of inner alchemy. I'm going to start them with a negative, and we'll flip them to a positive. Don't cower, be strong. Don't hide, be courageous and expose yourself. Don't take it, allow yourself the opportunity to feel free. Don't dissolve. Integrate order into chaos, and then you won't feel at odds with the ego. When we merge action and emotion, the desire to disappear disappears. Don't place your suffering over the suffering of others. Acknowledge the human condition as innately full of challenge and conflict. Don't separate the inner and outer. Realize that your karma is always surrounding you. Every situation represents a part of you. So you're face to face with yourself eternally. How's that for a life sentence? Don't remain in idealism. Accept the limitation of this realm while keeping your innocence. Long for freedom and pursue it without holding yourself hostage to that dream. Don't ignore the masculine. Be receptive to others while maintaining healthy boundaries. Equally, don't ignore the feminine. Allow vulnerability to arise. Don't feel at odds with the construct. Be glad you're learning through challenge. Realize this is a holding space where you're safely frozen in a time loop until your experiences culminate in an entirely upgraded existence. But don't gaze at the finish line only. Recognize the power of taking such a long, strange journey here on Earth. And in doing so, you recognize the power of the now. Don't long for the moment if the moment escapes you. Be present. Create an occasion right here, right now. The man wonders when life will unfold. And then the moment escapes him. Equally, don't chase time. Acknowledge the restraint of the cycles and see time as a canvas, a flowing ocean, not a ticking bomb that shows no mercy. Don't lie to yourself. Be honest about your limitations, your strengths, your imbalances, your desires, your progression. Don't invest in suppression. It won't work. Do invest in allowance. Let that genie out of the bottle, baby. But be careful what you wish for. Don't ignore. Confront. Don't only process, live. The endless ideas of inner resolution are necessary, but can be a detriment if we're spending more time trying to figure out life and all of its mysteries than actually living it. Don't separate cause and effect. Integrate the process and the result. Don't caricature love. Love is all around you, always. And that love disguises itself in shapes and patterns and brick buildings and mean-spirited people. Know that love is cold and hot. Love is a song and a shriek. Love isn't one thing, but love is the one thing. So these rules of alchemy, they're all about allowance. Allowing yourself to feel completely responsible, because with freedom comes responsibility. And by not taking full responsibility for our state, We let another's creation run rampant and might miss the opportunity. So, you've changed the world countless times by changing your mind. What do you think synchronicity is? In part, that's your mind's focus imprinting a sync in the external. You think it's a message from the divine, but meanwhile, you are the divine sending yourself messages. Messages throughout these trivial battles we go through every day. The everyday personal battles over decisions we think of as inconsequential, whatever, are actually shaping the world. Yeah, but Hermes, what about the prison aspect of this place? Yeah, the world has been a playground, a farm, if you will, for countless artificial entities. But these entities were produced by our own foolish experiments in what some call Atlantis. Instead of using that name, though, we can simply say, in another eon, we abused our power. And this is where possibly the idea of a Frankenstein comes from. Just like Dr. Frankenstein's experiments led to the creation of a monster, our assimilation into duality, eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, literally manifested as shadows that started to become sentient, like self-aware machines that protect themselves. It reminds me of the movie I, Robot. So this idea that many of us have had, that we were hoodwinked or tricked or manipulated into coming here, it's true and false. It's false because our consciousness created this space-time loop, but true because the AI shadow productions from that duality started to set up an energy extraction maze to quarantine their quote makers. But if this started as an inner condition manifested as outer imprisonment, then in order to deal with that imprisonment, in part, we got to revert our attention back to the inner condition. The prime blueprint has been so deeply embedded in this artificial construct that it's been very easy to merge with layers of the overlay in the name of intuitions, beliefs, and feelings. What I'm trying to say is this. Each time we identify with a spiritual belief, especially a widely held belief, or one that's somehow collectively agreed upon, we identify with one of the grid layers of the matrix. So one layer could be, the monotheistic mindsets, Christianity, Islam, Judaism. Another one could be the Eastern perspectives, Buddhism, Hinduism. It could be anything involving a savior, an imbalanced attitude that either ignores the feminine, ignores the masculine. In corresponding to any of these layers, we begin to identify with them. Imagine these layers as processing centers which aim to artificially guide our consciousness into set rules, restrictions, and paradigms under the mask of you'll achieve enlightenment or you'll go to heaven. We can get out of this spiritual maze the overlay has created. That's a huge reason why we're still here, actually. It's because we are working through all of the falsity. But how can you work through it until you're under the thumb of falsity? we can get out of the spiritual maze the overlay has created without resorting to saying, oh, we're just a bunch of humans, just cut ourselves off from anything spiritual. You know, we don't have to degrade ourselves as a bunch of biorobots that eat, sleep, shit, and go to work. But we also don't always have to put the burden on ourselves to be spiritual or strive for spiritual growth. You want an example of a spiritual experience? Boom. Right now. This is the spiritual experience. You know? So, don't let the moment evade you. So, everything you fucking do is spiritual because the word spiritual signifies of spirit. And you are of spirit. Now, all of this isn't to say that intentional growth should be ignored. You are perfect, but that doesn't mean you should just sit there and accept immobility. You got to use your energy somehow. That's the law of motion in Hermeticism. So the point of these matrix layers, many which promise enlightenment, is to advocate helplessness and to minimize the spirit as something that needs to follow orders, or else it might be damned. The truth is, without hyperbole, you are already the highest, most pure being in creation. You are the truth, but that doesn't mean there isn't adjustment periods that are essentially cornering the living souls right now so we can carefully observe the falsity and break free from it. I love love. I do. You love love. Love yourself, love your neighbor, love each other. We hear this word all throughout society, so I can't be the only one who feels as if the word love's been watered down. Love, as it has been advertised to us, is basically a glorified, highly addictive state that's been marketed and holographically inserted into the field to such an extent that we now see this artificial love as the prize and the price for entry into a higher existence. A lot of the times that's where this frantic voice arises that says, be love, be love. You know? And sometimes that can sound demeaning, right? Love more, be more. Like I said earlier, love is all around you. I mean, you can choose to tap into that fundamental love reality. But don't think for a moment that the only problem here is a lack of love and empathy. As the world screams, love each other, right? Politicians say that, celebrities say that, musicians, the LGBT community. As the world screams, love each other, we witness the opposite. So, this is why we need to update this false love, this infantile rush, and replace it with a sustained, true, strong love that feels all-encompassing and stable at the same time. Love isn't just a kiss on the cheek or a friendly, hi, how are you? Or a hug. That is love. But love is just as much the cold breeze, you know, a thought of a memory, a painful truth that's helping you grow. As you can see, you got to be on your toes in this game. Good fortune and misfortune don't just appear, right? Situations just don't appear. They're created over time. Actions over time build up to create your now. That doesn't mean you're burdened by linearity. It means the culmination of your energies is always displayed right here, right now. And if imbalances arise, and they're going to arise, well, that's an opportunity to recenter and find equilibrium in yourself. Physically, we call this homeostasis. Just like the body regulates itself without needing to map out its function, your spirit regulates your reality based on the good fortune or misfortune that your inner paints onto the canvas of the matrix. So you are the artist. But you might not like all of the paintings you produce. But did you ever stop to question if the art liked you? If you raise a dog in total fear and negligence, that dog may become timid and anxious. Probably will. Likewise, we can be haunted by our own creations and experiences and culminations if they've been raised in fear. It's the tether of choice. You feel it, I feel it. It's the tether of choice. When you choose anything, you cancel out a particular spectrum of frequencies as if they're not there. So in this way, expansion is hand in hand with discernment. If one can discern the type of energies and experiences one wishes to align with, then they can expand. But this means the journey to freedom does involve saying no. It involves closing doors, not allowing specific bands of energies you no longer want to function with in your life. This is why it's essential to exhibit both vulnerability and this childlike innocence and boundary setting, to integrate openness with refinement, chaos with order. Stay well, everybody.